What is going on, my super sandwiches? So I guess I should say my super ninjas. Wait, Afro, I can't say that, can I? What's good, my ninjas? I can't say that.
I guess you could. It's close. You're right, but you know, for what we're talking about, I guess it fits. So give you the pass, bro.
AfroSenju and myself decided to get together and review Naruto Ninja Storm 4, which is coming out in a couple of days, the 9th in the US. I believe it's already out in Europe as of today. Today's Friday. And we basically want to give you our overall thoughts because we've been playing the game for the past, I'd say, 4 or 5 days or so, something like that. And obviously, with every new game that comes out, people always ask our opinions, like, hey, what do you think about this game? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? And Afro and I decided to, like I said, break down our thoughts. Now, with most reviews, people say too much, honestly. When it comes to reviews, it's like, oh, this, that. We broke it down into 2 parts. What we like and what we didn't like, which in case is basically what you guys essentially want to hear. So, likes. Let's talk about likes first. Afro, you ready? You got your list of likes?
I got my list. Pretty strong and nice right now. How we going to do this? You or me? Where we going?
I guess I should go first. So the reason why I decided to get together with Afro is obviously the more veteran Naruto player. He's been playing all the Storm games way before I was even born, even though he's younger than me. But it doesn't have to make sense. And I'm kind of more of the neutral party. You know, like I said, I mostly play Dragon Ball games. I play other anime games as well, but Dragon Ball is my specialty. Now, I played all the Naruto games except for Generations, which is apparently is the best one. I'm going to give you kind of like that neutral stance. Like, say you never really got into Naruto, but you want to try out a new anime fighting game. That's kind of like where my opinion comes in. So, first things first, the likes for myself. Number 1, the gameplay. Obviously, a game has to be fun, right, Afro? That makes kind of sense, too. Yeah. And Naruto Storm 4 is definitely a lot of fun. You don't have to know much about Naruto. I mean, you might want to know about Naruto, obviously. You don't want to just pick it up and be like, what the hell's going on? But it's just fun to play. Like, the visuals are awesome. This is what I love about CC2. They may not be the best company when it comes down to making fighting games, but their visuals look so clean, especially on the PS4. Now, to those who don't know, Storm 4 is exclusive to next gen and PC only, as opposed to previously, which was available on PS3 and 360 as well. But with them going for the higher hardware now, they made the game look hella clean. Afro, tell me how clean it is. Tell everybody how clean it is.
Like, on the real, comparing this to the anime, it stays really honest to the anime. To be fair, I would feel like, to be honest, it's a bold statement, but I feel like playing this, the whole story, is a better experience. I don't know yet because the anime is not done, but I feel like it's possibly going to be a better experience than actually watching the anime itself. Because the anime, it dips in quality a lot of times, but this goes above the bar of when it's good and when it's bad, and just when it's neutral, you know, just even playing the game on free battle that's not being played on story, it's a better experience. Like, I don't know, like when I hear the characters, even the audio is better, like the support itself, they have like this reverb bass tone. It's like the quality, I don't know a word for it, magnificent, majestic. They got particle effects now. Like, there's so much plus that was added to it. And
let's talk about one thing. Let's talk about one important thing real fast since you talk about particle effects. Battle damage on the environment, which I know is a huge favorite to a lot of anime fans.
Yeah.
The battle damage in this game features kind of similar thing we saw in the past games. Not just Naruto, but you know, anime games in general. But the thing that's different is, let's say I do a big blast on the ground and it does disappear. However, it leaves the mark afterwards. So let's say I shoot you with a big ass, you know, like ice particle or something. You can see kind of like the scarring on the ground. So it's really nice. CC2 did a great job in kind of adding, you know, that effect to the game. So visually, it's great. Obviously, the most important thing about a game, like I said, is it fun or not? And I say yes. Do you agree if it's fun?
Yeah, I agree. They even have a system too. Let's say if you do a fireball, you can be burned afterwards, like, you know, Pokemon type of logic, if you will, you know, or if you're doing like lightning on the water, you see the effect of the lightning running through the water, like coursing through it. And you know, they also turned it off. You can turn it on, turn it off, and you go on the player match in Endless. I think on rank it's on always. Don't quote me on that, but I never saw, from what I can remember, an option to turn that off. So it's, you know, if you like the realism of an anime, if you will, the fictional realism, you can, you know, have that and enjoy it. If you don't, you can also turn it off if you're playing with friends and all that. So
the next thing I want to say that I like about the game is the story mode. Now, if you play Storm 3, you're already aware how awesome the story is. Both in 2 and 3, it just was really nice, as we just said, visually appealing. And the story mode in Storm 4 definitely doesn't disappoint. Well, sort of. We'll talk about the dislike about that later. But when the game is doing in-game cutscenes, like when you see, for example, we're not going to talk about details in case, you know, people aren't caught up. But when you see like the final battle, for example, or specific fights during the actual Great Ninja War, it looks so epic. Like when they had the QTE happening, awesome. Like this is the first time in a long time where I look forward to QTE cutscenes in the game, just because they do a really great job showing that off. Like, I think it really captures how Naruto games, or I guess the Naruto universe fights should happen, and that's what I love about the game. What do you think about the story mode?
I think it's amazing, to be honest. I like how they broke it down between Naruto and Sasuke, and they merged together. Like, well, why they merged together? Obviously, because within the story itself, there's a lot of parts where they work together. Some of that caliber, and they don't even have it honest to just you play as Naruto and Sasuke. It also merges off to like Obito and Kakashi's story, even the Minato story, and a few others that are off. And there's also an adventure mode too, which is separate. Which at the current moment, from what I've seen, there's not really a major importance to play it because I've seen someone complete it and they didn't really get any trophies from it.
Yeah,
but
it
it's
seems
also
extra.
a nice option. Yeah, it's a nice option to get the rest of the story that wasn't really given in the main story mode. So if you want to go back in that and play like a cookie cutter version of like the older previous battles, you have that as an option too to do. So I feel like you get the best of both worlds with this.
The one thing I'll talk about past games that I didn't like in Storm 3 and into as well. I didn't like how you have to like walk around. I was never a big fan of that just because it felt so forced. And what I guess Storm 4 does is it gives you an option to do both, because in the actual Storm mode itself, you don't have to do those running around scenes where you're going from point A to point B preparing for the war. Everything in the Storm mode itself is connected via basically levels and cutscenes essentially. But those who do like running around, you have that option as well. So it's cool to see CC2 thought about all kinds of fans when it came down to this game. The last thing I'll talk about that I like about the game is the fact that it's very fulfilling. Since this is the last Storm game, it feels very, very what's the word? Satisfying. Like everything that CC2 was trying to give us in the final Storm game was kind of was delivered there. Well, I take that back because there's obviously some Naruto fans that are gonna be upset about certain things, like tone redesign in the game apparently, but I don't really know if they plan on having this DLC. What I mean by fulfilling, I mean there's a lot of content that's worth the money essentially. Like I said, there's a story mode, there's an adventure mode, there's obviously the online mode. There's a lot of content, I guess, that comes together that makes this game worth the purchase. So if you're out there deciding is it worth it, the answer is yes. Now, to talk about a previous game, let's talk about Revolution for a second, because we all played Revolution, and that game felt like it lacked stuff, and that's kind of like what I didn't like about it. Like, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. To me, it felt like filler. From watching filler in anime, that's the game itself, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, it had a lot of potential with new characters and everything, but they didn't have the context to make you feel like this is a new character. So that's the one thing I would definitely say it lacked.
Yeah, whereas Storm 4 feels like it's filling. It's like this. Put it this way: Revolution is like going to a buffet and then being out of food and have just a couple options, whereas Storm 4 is more like going to a buffet and have all the options of food. So that's probably a better analogy or something. But ultimately, we both agree the game is fun, and if you're a Naruto fan, definitely get it. If you're not, you could check it out, and I feel like you will enjoy it. Now, those are our likes. Is there anything else you want to cover in terms of likes?
I guess the one thing I could say it covered, it made certain characters feel full. Like, kind of going on what we just said. Like, I know they added a few new characters, like Sage Mode Hashirama, and I can't remember the few on top of my head, but like they get the correct context in Storm 4 to make you feel like, oh, okay, this is a new character, a comparison where they just tossed it in there, and it was just like, oh, okay, I guess that's dope, you know what I'm saying?
I was always neutral about Guy, but Guy is freaking awesome in this game.
Yes, they give Guy justice.
I think I had my main for the first time out of any Naruto game ever. Like previously, I was playing with I played with Shisui the last game. In Storm 3, I like to play with Minato and stuff like that. In Storm 4, it's definitely Guy. Like he plays the way he's supposed to fight. So it's definitely, again, they did a really good job, adding different tweaks and stuff, making characters flow better. I know you were excited about Hashirama because I saw you tweet about how he's faster and stuff.
Yes, way faster. Like they buffed a lot of characters that were way slower in previous games, or previous being Revolution as the most recent one, and it was definitely for the better.
Speaking of buffing, no more counters.
Yes,
the counters are gone. They have counters. They have counters. It's the same thing, except for instead of stunning you, what it does is it knocks you back. So no, free combo essentially anymore, which is good. So I think that covers all our likes, right? So we both like it. Let's talk about dislikes. The first thing I want to talk about dislikes, and obviously this opinion is going to vary based on everybody else. I did not like the fact that the story mode uses slideshows and then cutscenes. If you're playing a game, you'll notice that it basically literally took screenshots from the anime, and then in between, I guess, the less important animated scenes, it's literally just showing screenshots from the anime, and then it goes into the in-game stuff. The in-game stuff looks absolutely incredible, because like I said, CC2 does a great job, animating their fights. Like, they look awesome. But then it's like the ultimate boner killer when you're like excited, you just saw like an epic fight, and all of a sudden you have slideshows. It's like, oh, I have to wait for this to basically run through. And since this is the last Storm game,
didn't they drag on for the most part too?
They dragged on too, yeah. The thing is that since this is the last Storm game, and they keep calling it the perfect Storm, I assumed that the entire game was going to be all, cutscenes. Because, again, what made Storm 3 so awesome was it was beautiful. Like, playing through that game was awesome, minus the fact that you actually run around. It was beautiful watching the cutscenes unfold. But in here, mixing cutscenes with slideshows just felt so... like I said, it's the ultimate boner killer, if that makes sense. The next thing I'm gonna talk about is the boss battles. While I'm not a big fan of boss battles in Naruto games previously, what I didn't like about this one specifically, and we'll talk about, I guess this is kind of a small spoiler, would you say?
A little bit, tiny bit, but not really. Just don't go.
A little bit. I mean, it's just all we're gonna talk about is the mechanics. We're not gonna talk about the specific fights, but like some fights literally has you kind of like, you know, those old school spaceship games where you're just flying around and shooting stuff, and there's a bunch of shots being fired at you, and you have to dodge them all. That's how they feel. There's like certain parts where you're just kind of flying around, just shooting the boss. He's firing back at you. You're dodging all the hits, and that's all it is. Now, when it goes to the cutscene mode and the QTE stuff, it's awesome, but like it just feels like a chore, really. And I remember as I was sitting there doing my playthrough, I'm just like, oh, just end already. Just let me get to the QTE. And the boss battles were just way too dull for me. Not all of them. Like, you know, the regular fights, or just like you versus whoever you're fighting, they're great. But what I'm talking about specifically is like the big boss battles, like the Giants ones, for example, where you're literally flying around, shooting, dodging attacks the entire time. Those drag on. Did you get to any of those yet?
I got to one of them. I kind of understand what you're saying, because like he didn't die. The dude I was like shooting at for the longest time, I was just shooting at him for like a clean minute before I was able to go to the next part with the QTE section. And it did get a little bit repetitive or redundant, either one to me. And I'm just kind of like, I want to get to the next part. Like once I got past the shooting part, I don't know too deep in, because I'm like fairly in the beginning. But once I got past for the first section of the shooting part, it was pretty smooth sailing from that part point on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now with me, obviously, my disadvantage was the fact that I beat this game in 2 sittings. I literally played it for hours, 2 days in a row, to make sure that I basically, you know, get as much knowledge about this game as possible so I can do this review. And you know, maybe I got kind of like, you know, burned out doing the repetitive boss battles, but ultimately they could have been a little bit better. Especially since this is the last Storm game. Again, if you're gonna preach as the perfect Storm, it should be a little bit better. But that's pretty much it for the story mode. Again, the story mode is almost flawless. It's awesome, but the slideshow cutscenes to make it kind of dull, and then of course the boss battles, they feel like a chore when it comes down to it. Is there anything else you want to add about the story mode that you didn't like?
Speaking on repetitive, there was a few sections that I ran into so far early in with the horde battles, and the one thing I would say is kind of repetitive too, for the simple fact that you're just pressing circle, and moving up a little bit, like forward, left to right. There's not really any lock-on feature that I could see. I don't know if you're able to find one yourself. Yeah, so it was kind of like all over. It was loose, you know what I'm saying? So like when you would dash to try to get to an enemy that you want to kill, you go ahead of them or behind them, or you know, if you're lucky enough, you run out of the dash right in front of them. So it's never like an accurate thing. It's kind of like a mindless press circle to kill the enemy. You could do jutsus to kill them faster, but for the same part, it's still mindless.
They were basically trying to add like a Dynasty Warriors feel to it, but it just didn't work at all. I forgot about those. There's a couple. There's not that many, but I forgot about that. And I remember originally with Storm 3, I thought, hey, if they perfect this could be a lot of fun. But I feel like with Storm 4, they kind of went backwards with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But again, there's only
like
a small handful of them, so you don't have to worry about those all the time. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I completely forgot about that. But ultimately, story mode, is there anything else that we forgot to mention? Oh, one more thing actually. And again, this is not going to contain a spoiler, but I actually did not like the fact that Naruto and Sasuke split off in the story. And the reason why, because you're just now getting past that part, right?
Yeah.
The reason why I personally don't like it is, I'll say this right now, it happens twice. You have the initial path, and then you have the second path. What they're trying to do with it is they're trying to basically make it feel like you're taking 2 different stories, but you're really not, because it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like you could basically go through a Naruto story and then the Sasuke story, and kind of like, you know, it feels more like it's like happening at the same time kind of type of thing. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
it doesn't feel like it's 2 different paths. Now, what I would have loved to see, and this is kind of obviously crazy, just me speaking, you know, off the top of the head. What I would have loved to see is if they truly had 2 different paths. For example, when Sasuke was, you know, asked for his answer, like, do you want to, you know, save the Hidden Leaf Village, or do you want to fight it? What they should have done is had a like completely alternate story where, what if Sasuke said, no, I still want to destroy it? And then you have this alternate, you know, story where it's like you deal with Madara and Obito, and then obviously what happens next. And then instead of, you know, the ending that happens in the manga, they have a completely different thing that they completely made up just to go with this game, where it's like, what if Sasuke is still being a dickhead and, you know, decides to attack the Hidden Leaf Village this in the midst of all the stuff that's going on? I would love to see that. But like the Sasuke versus Naruto story, the yin yang path that they have in this game, it doesn't feel like 2 different paths. It feels like the same path, really. I feel like they added it just because they realized, oh my gosh, you know, we can't really pull that many missions out of, you know, this final fight, because obviously when Storm 3 ended, they basically ended the Storm 3 around right before the fight got good, and there's not that much you can really do for a full-length game. So I feel like they added that second path just to have, you know, something that fills it in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you.
What do you think about that?
I haven't really got too far into that, so I can't really give too much feedback, but I kind of see what you're talking about from knowing the story of, just watching reading the anime. I kind of get what you're saying. It kind of felt like the other side of a coin. The coin's still the same, but it just looks different, just because you're playing as Sasuke rather than you're playing as Naruto. So yeah,
I mean, it's still cool. It's still cool. I know why they did it. It's literally probably to just add game time to it. Because again, if you had a short story mode, we would all been disappointed. So I know why they did it. But I just kind of want to toss it out there. But otherwise, the story is fun. The story is pretty fun. Despite the couple of flaws of the slideshows, the dual boss battles, it's still very enjoyable. And like when you get to certain parts of the fight that you see in the manga and in the anime, you're just like, bruh. So thumbs up to that. It's more W's rather than L's when it comes down to reviewing that part. Now the last thing we want to talk about is the actual PvP aspect of it. And actually, you want to talk about Spectator Mode.
Yes, I do. Now, the one thing that's kind of been happening throughout, I would say, Storm Generations and onward, there's always a down, I guess, going backwards from, upgrading. It was always going backwards from the story mode, or the online mode, rather. So, I remember I'm not going to talk about the past games, but from this one, from Revolution, the main thing that it had was Spectator Mode. Now, granted, tournaments changed, and they kind of remained the same going this game onwards, but the Spectator and Endless, and mainly just Endless, is gone. And they didn't bring Spectator back for tournaments because that was taken away in Revolution. So now they took away Spectator Mode in both modes that people just like to kind of relax and chill in. Now, I don't know too much about League because I don't think too many people played League. That's kind of like an endless battle, so to speak, but more of, how would you say, formatted. So this time around, it's just really just Endless. Endless has just been really stepped back, and people are really upset by that because they always just like chilling in there and just watching people play, or they don't really want to just sit there and not watch anything. Because what happens now when you go into Endless battle and someone's fighting, you're going to see
the lobby.
you just stare at just a blank screen. You know what I'm saying? More or less, just chilling, looking at names and whatnot. So.
Now, basically, think of it this way. Think of the universe without the lobby mode where you can watch your friends play. It's kind of boring. Now, I personally don't remember the whole Spectator Mode because, again, it's been a while since I played Revolution. I didn't even notice it until I saw other people talking about it. But that's obviously something you can get a note out. I mean, if you get together with your friends, because obviously when it comes down to it, playing with friends is what makes the game most fun. And if you're just sitting there chilling in a lobby where your friends are fighting, it can get dull fast. So maybe they'll patch it in the future. Who knows? Fingers crossed. But I definitely see the issue with that. But that's pretty much all we else want to say about the PvP. I mean, everything else is fun. I mean, regular player matches and stuff. I haven't experienced any lag issues. Everything else seems pretty solid. Afro, is there anything else you want to toss in there about this? Review what you didn't like about the game?
I guess everything from that point on is pretty solid. I feel like if the Spectator Mode could be fixed, this is probably a strong contender within the Storm series. I would say if the Spectator Mode is fixed, I would say this is probably the best one out of all of the rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you heard from himself, AfroSenju I. But so overall, you definitely recommend a game. 2 thumbs up.
Yes.
You want to rate it or anything?
I can't really rate it like that, but I would say it is a pretty good buy if you love Naruto, if you love the franchise. If you're kind of like, shaky, wishy-washy on it, I would say kind of get someone to explain, a little brief estimate of what happened before the war, just a brief summary rather. And maybe if you just want to go in yourself and just, see for yourself, if you don't know that much, go ahead. I think you'll like it on the gameplay alone and just how pretty it looks.
Yeah,
more or less.
I agree. I mean, like I said, the most important thing to me is a game fun or not, and this is definitely fun. So I highly recommend it, whether you're a Naruto fan or not. I mean, obviously, if you are a fan, you'll like it even more. If you're not, if you want to just find another anime game to play while we're waiting for One Piece Burning Blood or the next Dragon Ball game or whatever, Storm 4 is that game for you. So definitely check it out. So that's pretty much everything for us. If you played the game, have your own thoughts or reviews, feel free to drop comments below on that. And I guess keep an eye out for both myself and AfroSenju on the PS4, and challenge us if you see us. If you see us on Twitter talking about ready to fight, give us these hands. Apparently AfroSenju is good with Hashirama. I want somebody to dethrone him. Find Afro and destroy him with Hashirama so he can ultimately feel that L. But other than that, I guess let us know what you think, and I guess we'll see you guys in the comment section below.
Yes, peace, you guys.